Hey all, this is Kevin Bass from thedietwars.com. I'm here to talk about this Instagram post by Max Lugavere. It says, current U.S. nutrition guidelines call for vegetable oil, dressings, and spreads, 10 slices of bread a day, 5 white, up to 70 grams of added sugar daily, minimal meat. If we followed these guidelines, would we be healthier or sicker? And the implication is that these guidelines, as he's presenting them, which is just, it's incorrect. It's false. This is misinformation. These guidelines, as he's presenting them, are making everybody sick because they're telling everybody to eat things that are unhealthy. Well, how do we know that this is wrong? Well, it's wrong because we can go to the guidelines. So there's a 164-page PDF. It's called the Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2020 to 2025 PDF. And we can look at each individual guideline and double check, we can fact check each of Max's claims. So his first claim, as we've seen, is it's calling for vegetable oil, dressings, and spreads. Let's find out what it means by vegetable oil, dressings, and spreads. This is going to be very illustrative. Let's do this. Switch over the window to vegetable oils and spreads, and that's going to be page 48 in the document. It says oils. Let's just read it. It's very straightforward what it actually says. Oils. Oils are important to consider as part of a healthy dietary pattern as they provide essential fatty acids. Commonly consumed oils include canola, corn, olive, peanut, safflower, soybean, and sunflower oils. Oils are also naturally present in nuts, seeds, seafood, olives, and avocados. The fat in some tropical plants, such as coconut oil, palm oil, kernel oil, and palm oil, are not included in the oils category because they contain a higher percentage of saturated fat than do other oils. Strategies to shift intake include cooking with vegetable oil in place of fats high in saturated fat, including butter, shortening, lard, or coconut oil. However, some foods such as desserts and sweet snacks that are prepared with oils instead of fats high in saturated fat are still high in added sugars and thus are not a nutrient-dense food choice. What it is saying replace butter, shortening, lard, and coconut oil. Replace them with these other oils like canola, corn, olive, peanut, safflower, soybean, and sunflower oils. Replace those. It says don't eat things that are high in added sugars. So like don't eat desserts, don't eat sweet snacks. It says some foods such as desserts and sweet snacks that are prepared with oils instead of fats, high in saturated fat, are still high in added sugars, and thus are not a nutrient-dense food choice. The same goes with like really high sugar salad dressings. Don't use those. And it doesn't even mention here in this section, it doesn't even mention salad dressings at all. In fact, let's go find, I wasn't even planning to do this for this video, but let's find it. Let's find if in the entire 164-page document, there's no mention of salad dressings. The only mention of oils in this document, is to say replace butter, lard, shortening, and coconut oil with these other oils like olive oil, canola oil, soybean oil, etc. There's no place where it talks about salad dressings, etc., all that stuff. And it explicitly says, do not eat junk food, do not eat desserts containing these oils. So this part is very misleading on the part of Max. Let's hit up the next one. So let's go switch the windows again, and I'll show you. Because this is so frustrating, and I talked to Max about this, but I can only send him a short DM. I can't fully explain why this is wrong, but I'm going to do this in this video. So next thing he says, 10 slices of bread a day, 5 white. Let's go look at the grain section of the guidelines. Let's go look at the grain section. It's really straightforward. Did I mess that up? Oh, there we go. Come on, Max. We're going to get you back up. Let's go look at the grain section now. So I'm closing this. We're going to go look at what does the dietary guidelines say for the freaking grains? What does it say? What does it actually say? So I wrote down here, page 45. So we're going to go to page 45. The grain section. Healthy dietary patterns include whole grains and limit the intake of refined grains. So Max is saying 10 slices of bread, including 5 white. Actually, it says to include whole grains and limit refined grains. And it says at least half of total grains should be whole grains. Individuals who eat refined grains should choose enriched grains. So it's actually even saying you can adhere to the dietary guidelines without including any refined grains at all. Just have some enriched whole grains as well because of folic acid. That's the reason. It's very clear. At least half should be whole grains, and they should, quote, listen, limit the intake of refined grains. And it says individuals who consume all of their grains as whole grains should include some that have been fortified with folic acid. Grain-based foods in nutrient-dense forms limit the additions of added sugars, saturated fat, and sodium. So it's saying don't eat super processed grain foods with saturated fat, sugars, and sodium. Okay, don't eat junk bread, basically. Okay. All right, we're going to skip the rest because it's technical. Let's read this part. Choose 100% of whole grain foods for at least half of all grains consumed. The relative amount of whole grain in the food can be inferred by the placement of the grain in the ingredient list, and it's telling you how to find it. And it says the whole grain should be the first ingredient and the second ingredient after water, or the second ingredient after water. For foods with multiple whole grain ingredients, they should appear near the beginning of the ingredient list. And here, now the guidelines are even critiquing what Americans are doing because Americans are not following the guidelines. It says most Americans meet recommendations for total grain intakes, although 98% fall below recommendations for whole grains and 74% exceed limits for refined grains. It's saying the guidelines are explicitly saying you guys need to eat less refined grains. It's not saying you guys need to eat more. It's saying you guys need to eat less refined grains. I think Max would agree with this. Max would agree with the guidelines. Max is in 100% agreement with the guidelines. We need to eat less refined grains. Max would also probably agree that if you replace the refined grains with whole grains, you're going to get better health outcomes. And Max would also agree, if you look at the literature, whole grains are anti-inflammatory. Are they not? Max, send me a DM. Are they not anti-inflammatory? Are whole grains not anti-inflammatory? Robustly anti-inflammatory in a dose-response manner. Are whole grains not anti-inflammatory? So what the guidelines are saying is to reduce refined grains and increase whole grains, which will cause an anti-inflammatory effect. Will that help protect the brain, Max? Let me know. Because I think that'll help protect the brain. I think that'll be good for people. So are you saying these guidelines are bad? They're going to hurt people? Because according to all the science that I'm aware of, according to everything that I know, these guidelines are going to help people. These guidelines are going to improve people's health. So why are you calling them into question? Is it to sell books? I really don't understand. Like, why are you calling these into question if they're actually telling people to improve their health in this manner? Why are you doing that? Max, I'm serious. Like, why are you doing that? This really makes me upset because it's not appropriate. You're just saying things about the guidelines that aren't true. This is totally not true. It's totally inappropriate to be saying these things because the guidelines are not doing it. They're not telling people to eat more white bread. It doesn't say anywhere. It says limit the intake of refined grains. Limit white bread. That's what it's saying. It's saying limit the intake of refined grains. It's not saying eat white bread. It's saying limit them. So it's a lie. It's a lie to say that the guidelines want you to eat more white bread. It's a freaking lie. Max, you need to tell people that this is the case. You need to stop misleading people about the guidelines. I'm serious. And it says almost half of all intake of refined grains is from mixed dishes such as sandwiches, burgers, tacos, pizza, macaroni and cheese, and spaghetti with meatballs. They're actually critiquing what Americans eat. They're criticizing this. They're criticizing Americans. They're saying about 20% of intake of refined grains comes from snacks and sweets, including crackers, pretzels, cakes, cookies, and other grain desserts. The remaining refined grains are generally eaten as separate food items such as pancakes, cereals, breads, tortillas, pasta, rice. Around 60% of whole grain intake in the United States is from individual food items, mostly cereals and crackers, rather than mixed dishes. Grains are consumed in forms with higher amounts of sodium and added sugars, rather than the nutrient-dense forms. It's telling you not to eat bread, tortillas, crackers. It's telling you not to eat grain-based desserts, not to eat many ready-to-eat breakfast cereals. It says grains are generally consumed in forms with higher amounts of sodium and added sugars. And here in the added sugars, it says parentheses, grain-based desserts. It says grain-based desserts. You guys, it's grain-based desserts. Many ready-to-eat breakfast cereals. It's not saying to eat this stuff. It's saying don't eat this stuff. This is not good. Further, grains are often consumed as part of mixed dishes such as pasta dishes, casseroles, and sandwiches that may have other ingredients that are not in nutrient-dense forms. It's saying don't eat this. Don't eat the crap. Eat whole grains. It says shifting from refined to whole grain versions of commonly consumed foods such as from white to 100% whole wheat breads. They're telling people explicitly, they're saying eat less white bread and switch to 100% whole wheat breads. And white to brown rice where culturally appropriate would increase whole grain intakes and lower refined grain intakes to help make recommendations. It's saying eat less white bread. It's not saying eat more. It's saying eat less. It's not saying eat more. Max, you need to tell people that this is what the guidelines are saying. The guidelines are telling people to eat less white bread. Tell them that's what it's doing. They're telling people to eat oils only in the cooking oil. It's not telling people to eat salad dressing. You need to tell people that this is what the guidelines are doing rather than telling them this other crap, Max. Seriously, it's really upsetting because it's just false. It's misinformation. It's completely false. And you know I'm speaking the truth. You know I'm speaking the truth. All right, let's go on to the rest. I'm going to switch the window again. We'll see what it says here. I'm switching it to Max's window again. Okay, and then we're going to switch out this other window. All right. So he says the third thing he says the guidelines do. The third way he misrepresents the guidelines. He says up to 70 grams of added sugar daily. Really? That's what they say, huh, Max? Does it? Is it really what they say? Because we're going to go check that. We're going to go check it. I told you I was going to go check it, man. So page 50, okay? We're going to go to page 50 now. I got to get rid of the Max window. Go to page 50. Okay, let's go to page 50. We're at 45. We're going to 50. All right, let's read this. Guideline 4, limit foods and beverages higher in added sugar, saturated fat, and sodium, and limit alcoholic beverages. Here's what they say. A healthy dietary pattern is designed to meet food group and nutrient recommendations while staying within calorie needs. Additionally, a healthy dietary pattern is designed to not exceed the tolerable upper intake level or chronic disease risk reduction level for nutrients. To achieve these goals, the pattern is based on consuming foods. Listen here. Listen. Seriously, this is just really straightforward what the guidelines are doing. And it's really straightforward how Max is misleading people. Max, you need to change what you're doing here. Look, to achieve these goals, the pattern is based on consuming foods and beverages in their nutrient-dense forms with the least amounts of added sugar, saturated fat, and sodium. With the least amount of added sugar, saturated fats, and sodium. With the least amount of added sugars. It's not telling people to eat a bunch of added sugar. It says it's the least amount possible. You want to eat the least amount. Okay? Most of the calories a person needs to eat each day, about 85%, and this is where it gets really reasonable, guys. It gets really reasonable. Look. Most of the calories a person needs to eat each day, about 85%, are needed to meet food group recommendations healthfully in nutrient-dense forms. So it says 85% of your calories should be like whole foods, nutrient-dense whole foods. That's what it's saying. It says the remaining calories, around 15%, are calories available for other uses. So it's an 85%, 15% rule. 85% good stuff, 15% junk, like other stuff that you want. That's what it's saying. The remaining calories, about 15% are calories available for other uses, including for added sugars or saturated fat beyond the small amounts found in nutrient-dense forms of foods and beverages within the pattern, to consume more than the recommended amount of food group or for alcoholic beverages. This equates to 250 or 350 remaining calories for calorie patterns appropriate for most Americans. 250 to 350. 250. Okay, cool. So he says 70 grams of added sugars daily. 70 grams of added sugars daily. That's 280 calories, by the way. That's 280 calories. And so that's not correct, actually. That's not correct. Because that's that's the entire 15% of the remaining calories. But it's saying you can have 15% of the remaining calories, about 250 to 350 calories, including saturated fat and sugar together. Okay, and I believe the saturated fat cap is going to be 10%. Let's go find out exactly. Let's go find out. Actually, it says it explicitly here. 10% of calories, 10% of calories per day, okay? Saturated fat. Let's go find out what the maximum for sugar is. What do they cap you out for sugar? Added sugars, 10%. So they say sugars and saturated fat, 10% each, okay? 10% each. But if you add them together, it's going to be 15% together. So you can maybe have 10% of one and then 5% of the other, okay? But it says a healthy dietary pattern limits added sugars to less than 10% of calories per day. And a 3,000 calorie diet, like that's an athlete's diet or an obese person's diet, 3,000 calorie per day diet, that's 300 calories total. That's maybe 70 grams. You're allowed 70 grams, maybe. That's 280 calories, maybe about 73, 74 grams. 74 grams, 75, right? 75 grams total. And that's the maximum you'd be allowed on an athlete's diet, like a really athletic person, 70 freaking grams, okay? It's just 70 grams. It's like that's one like big soda. That's it. And that's if you're an athlete. And if you're not, then you're allowed like a tiny can of Coke and you're not allowed to have any other sugar for the rest of the day, okay? And that's the maximum. And then if you do that, then you're only allowed like 5% saturated fat. You're like allowed like a spoonful of butter. That's it. And if you have like 2 spoonfuls of butter, you're allowed like half a can of Coke. That's all you're allowed according to the guidelines per day. It's not saying to eat those things. It's saying not to eat those things. But if you want, you can have this extra stuff. You can have this extra stuff. And it says, oh, look here. It says the nutrient-dense choices included in the healthy U.S.-style dietary pattern are based on the available in the U.S. food supply include 17 to 15 calories from added sugars, or 1.5 to 2% of total calories. That is the ideal. They're literally saying your max or cap is 10%, but like the really nutrient-dense choice and like the ideal healthy U.S.-style dietary pattern is 17 to 50 calories from sugar. That's 4 grams of calorie, 4 to, what is it? I'm blanking out here. It's like 4 to 12 grams of sugar. You're like the ideal pattern that the dietary guidelines are telling you is 4 to 12 grams of sugar. Dude, that's like a tablespoon of sugar, man. Or like 2 tablespoons of sugar per day. That's all you're allowed to have. And then Max is saying, they call for up to 70 grams of added sugar daily. That's bullshit. It's total fucking bullshit. Pardon my French. It's total bullshit. This is a total lie. If you actually look at the document itself caps you at 10% calories. And it says the ideal pattern is 1.5 to 2% of total freaking calories. It's like nothing. That's the ideal according to the dietary guidelines. Why don't you go tell people the truth, Max? This tweet, this Instagram post, it got 6,000 likes. Max has 500,000 followers, and he's lying about the guy. This is basically a lie. You're misinformed about the guidelines, or you're lying. I'm going to say you're misinformed because I don't want to believe that you're lying, Max. But you're misinformed. This is total bullshit. All right, let's look at the minimal meat. He says it claims it has minimal meat. That was the last thing. I'm not going to click back to the other window, but you guys saw it. You can go zoom back, or you can go rewind back to the beginning of this zoom back. I don't even know what that is. But you can go back to the beginning of this video and look at the tweet, the Instagram post. What it says, there's 4 things. The last thing is minimal meat. He says current U.S. nutrition guidelines call for minimal meat. Okay, is that true? It called for minimal meat. Is it true? Is it true? Is this true? Or is this another bunch of bullshit? Is this a bunch of bullshit? Let me show you. So it's on page 46. I looked at this. Protein foods. Healthy dietary patterns include a variety of protein foods in nutrient-dense forms. The protein foods group comprises a broad group of foods from both animal and plant sources and includes several subgroups. What's this first subgroup, guys? Can you read on the page? Yep. Yes, sirs. It is, yes, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, it's not just men, although it's like 90% men watching this. We've got a bunch of bro followers, which is fine. What is the first subgroup? What is the first subgroup? What is the first guys? What is the first subgroup on there? What is it? It's right in the middle of the page on the right side. It says meats. That's the first subgroup listed. It says includes several subgroups: meats, poultry and eggs, seafood and nuts, seeds and soy products. So it starts out with the hard-hitting meats, man, and ends with the soy. It doesn't start with the soy and ends with the meats. It starts with the meats and ends with the soy. It's like meat. This is what you want to eat. You want to eat meat. You want to eat meat. Where in this freaking document does it say eat minimal meat? It doesn't. It doesn't. This is totally, Max made this up. Okay. And it says, as noted previously, beans, peas, and lentils may be considered part of the protein foods group as well as the vegetable group. Protein is also, so if you want, you can replace some of that meat with beans, peas, and lentils. That's what you want to do. You can do it. You're allowed to. That's consistent with the guidelines. That's not the first thing I listed, but you can do that if you want. Okay. Protein also is found in some foods and other food groups such as dairy. Meats and poultry vary in fat content and include both fresh and processed forms. Holy shit. It's even saying you can eat processed meat. This is probably not consistent with the science, but it's saying it. It's fine. It's like saying, go eat your meat, man. It's not saying don't eat your meat. It's saying eat meat, man. It's saying eat meat. Max. This is saying eat meat. Bro, come on. This is ridiculous what you made up. You made up this crap for this Instagram post. You made this up. You made this up. I'm not letting you get away with it. You made this up. All right. It says most intake of meats and poultry should be from fresh, frozen, or canned, and in lean forms. All right. Most intake of meats and poultry should be fresh, frozen, canned, and lean forms versus processed meats. Okay. So it does say you want to eat chicken breast or ground turkey or things like that. You don't want to eat hot dogs, sausages, ham, luncheon meats. That's what it says, because that's consistent. Like, if there's one thing that's kind of like iffy, it's processed meats, like hot dogs and sausages and ham and luncheon and like cold cuts. There's no question. All right. But it does say to eat meat, right? It just says shy away from eating the hot dogs, bro. Okay. It says a healthy dietary pattern can be achieved by incorporating protein foods with plants. Blah, 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 blah. It doesn't say eat a vegetarian diet, by the way. It doesn't say it. It doesn't say it. It doesn't say it. It does not say it. It does not say it. So look at this. Look at this. Let's be fair. Let's be fair in what it's actually saying. Let's be fair. It says intakes of protein foods are close to target amounts. So it's like, this is good. But they're like, this is good. Actually, this is good. Let's go to Americans eat. But many Americans do not meet recommendations for specific protein subgroups. About 3/4 of Americans meet or exceed the recommendation for meats, poultry, and eggs. However, almost 90% do not meet the recommendation for seafood, or more than half do not meet the recommendation for nuts, seeds, and soy products. Slightly less than half of all protein foods consumed as separate food items, such as chicken breast, steak, egg, fish, filet, or peanuts. About the same proportion is consumed as a mixed dish. Protein foods are generally consumed with higher amounts of saturated fat or sodium. They're often part of mixed dishes, blah, 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 blah. So they do recommend selecting from seafood subgroup or the beans, peas, and lentil subgroup more often could help you meet recommendations while still ensuring adequate protein consumption. It's saying, yeah, they want people to eat more nuts, seeds, seafood. They want people to eat a little bit less meat, poultry, and eggs. That's what they're saying. They want people to switch it out. Okay? And then they also say replacing processed or high-fat meats like hot dogs, sausages, and bacon with seafood could help lower intake of saturated fat and sodium nutrients that are often consumed in excess of recommended limits. So it says replace the hot dogs, sausages, and bacon, man, and then eat some salmon. That's all it's saying, bro. Do you disagree with this? Hey, Max, do you disagree with this? Tell me, because I can't see anything that's wrong with this. I can't see anything that's wrong with this. Replacing processed or high-fat meats like hot dogs, sausages, and bacon with beans, peas, and lentils would have similar benefits, as well as increasing dietary fiber, a dietary component of public health concern. Do you think eating lentils is bad, man? Do you think replacing hot dogs with lentils is bad? That's what it's saying. Replace hot dogs with lentils, basically. It's saying replace hot dogs with lentils, essentially. So it's saying, man. So it's saying. So where did this get this wrong? So he says, if we follow these guidelines, will we be healthier or sicker? I think we'd be healthier if you followed the real guidelines, not the stuff you made up. Max, you made this up. You totally misrepresented the guidelines. This is a total misrepresentation. And I want to know what you hear about it. Maybe, you've invited me to your podcast before. I don't know if I'm ever going on because I don't know. I would love to go on. I don't know. It'll hit me sometime if you still want me to come on, man. But like, bro, maybe you're not going to want me to come on anymore. But I'm going to tell you the truth about this. And the truth is, man, look, the way you said this stuff is misrepresentation. This misrepresents the dietary guidelines. You need to get this straight and not stop lying to people about this. I don't know if you're doing this intentionally or you're just misinformed, but this post is not correct. It's completely false, and it really misrepresents the guidelines in a really noxious way. I would say the guidelines are consistent with many of the things that you say, man. Limit added sugar. Replace hot dogs and bacon and sausage with stuff like lentils and salmon, right? Limit white bread. Replace refined grains with whole grains. Don't eat stuff with a lot of added vegetable oils that are junk foods. It says not to do that. It said, but replace butter and stuff with canola with olive oil. You like olive oil. How is this really different than anything you say? It's not. It's not different. But it does make for good marketing. Like, I have the answer. The dietary guidelines wrong. They've been misserving you. So I have the answers. Listen to me. It's good marketing, but it's false. And you need to tell the truth. This is the truth. So I want to hear what you have to say about this. Let me know. Send me a DM. To everybody else, my Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Kevin in Bass, like KEVINNBASS. That's 2 N's, KEVINNBASS. You can also download this if you're on YouTube right now, you can download this as a podcast at the Kevin Bass Show on various different platforms. If you can't find it in different ways of searching, like there's like Stitcher, Spotify, etc. If you can't find it in one of those, send me a message because I want to know that it's not available there. On some of them, it's also, you still have my old, it says the Diet Wars, you still have my old art, my podcast art. It should say the Kevin Bass Show. If you see that, the old art, please let me know what platform that is so I can get that replaced. And then of course the YouTube, I'm Kevin Bass on YouTube if you're hearing this on the podcast. And my Patreon is Kevin in Bass as well. Please sign up on my Patreon. You can get, I'm going to probably change it to 30 to 45 minutes per month with me talking about any of these issues that you're interested in, anything that I've been talking about, say, for the last year or two. If you want more detail about that, or you want to hear about what I think about this or that influencer, a recent person that I was talking to about this asked me about Rick Johnson. He's been on Peter Attia's podcast a few times, and they wanted to know what I think about that and uric acid, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, you can sign up for that's the top tier on Patreon. Be much appreciated. Or you can sign up on one of the lower tiers. You can also go to www.com. The Diet Wars, that's my website. And you can support me there at www.thedietwars.com/support/me. That's where you can get me on my website for support me. Send me direct cash. On Twitter, you can get me on the Cash App. So those are the different ways to support me. Those are different ways to contact me. Those are the different websites that I have where you can get my information. And I'm on different podcasts. And check out this podcast. Check out this YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, comment. Anything that you say will help my video do better. Share it as much as possible because people need to understand that this kind of crap is misrepresenting. And this is extremely common. Like this kind of misrepresentation of the dietary guidelines, which they do have their own problems. The dietary guidelines are eminently reasonable in most respects. So it does have its problem, but This is a gross misrepresentation, and people need to understand that. So let me know what you think about the video. Send me a message. Hit me up. Help support and subscribe. Send me a donation, etc. Peace. See you guys later.